Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Man, my eyes are watering so much. Hold on. All right. So, how are you guys doing today, Friday? Let's look at the charts. Well, treasuries. Yesterday, big recovery. You're getting smacked right back down, though. That's not happy. But you know what? This kind of activity, you get like down and back up in the same day, volatility the next day. That's often a very, very good sign of a bottom, of a short-term bottom. In this situation, it is being driven by headlines. But you know, so that's kind of makes it interesting because normally when you start getting the headlines like that, that's kind of like it resolves. But in this case, is that going to happen with Iran? I don't think so. I think they're going to finish the job. We'll see. Here's the S&P 500. They're taking the hit overnight too. Oil. Well, oil hasn't moved that much. That's very, very, very interesting. I think Saudi Arabia was saying if this continues until April, then we could get like $120 barrel of oil. Okay. But maybe this whole like plunge protection team is acting in oil. Maybe that's a real thing. Maybe that really is going on. Because how can treasuries and SPOOs be down so much? Oil's like barely changed. What? Okay. Gold. Oh man, gold got hit so hard yesterday. And they did not recover at all. So there's a bad sign, I think, in gold. I think that this suggests in gold that a lot of these holders are still speculators and or margin players and they just got cooked. Hopefully that means a short-term bottom, but whew, that's ugly. Silver. Yeah, it doesn't seem as bad in silver, but they still got hit hard. And copper. Copper just looks terrible. Ugh. That really looks terrible, isn't it? We need to zoom out, because if you zoom out in copper, that's not like you see how far copper had run. But to see basically like the last 90 days, and then suddenly we fail that support like that is not a good look at all. And then we got the Japanese yen. The Japanese yen ended up making a pretty big move yesterday. Interesting. All right. And the dollar kind of coming back a little bit too. It's actually kind of interesting that we're only to 99 in the dollar. And Bitcoin. Yeah, just kind of chugging along there. So here's the thing. Here on this channel, we practice the traditional, celebrate the traditional holiday of, will the United States attack Iran this weekend? It's every Friday. That has been the traditional celebration that we celebrate here on Fridays. And obviously that's not really relevant anymore. So somebody in the market decided that we need to create a new tradition, and that new tradition is, will the United States invade Dude, I thought I had it like all going. I was gonna say, and then I trip over my words. Let me try again. So the market has decided that we're going to celebrate a new tradition, which is, will the United States invade Karg Island? So that's what's going on. All right. Yesterday, oh, Uzi says back to calling it just Friday. No. We get to play. Will the United States invade Karg Island every week now? And that's what's going on. So yesterday, the reason that the markets rallied, it seems to me, was primarily, I mean, there's a couple of headlines in there, but the one that really seemed to move them was when Bibi was speaking, Netanyahu. I always like to call him Bibi just because, you know, I like to pretend that, like, I'm chummy with all of the great world leaders, right? Like what I like, you know, Jeffrey Bezos, so we just call him Jeffrey. I would prefer to call him Bibi, but if I'm honest, I mostly call him that because most of the time that I'm talking about him, it's through typing, and I don't want to spell Netanyahu because I'm afraid I'm going to misspell it every time. So I call him Bibi. He was talking that, like, Iran's capability to create nuclear weapons and to create ballistic missiles has been completely destroyed. And so the market was feeling much more optimistic that maybe they will start to wrap this up. And then there was also, you know, some of the European countries and everything started to change position and say, okay, yes, actually, we do need a coalition to keep the Hormuz Strait open. But then last night, there was a report that the United States might attack Karg Island. So that's why the markets kind of took a dive. It's interesting, when all of my synopsises were, you know, that I read in the morning were written, they were all saying, oh, the treasuries are only down like 4 ticks. But clearly it went way more than that. Vital says, I bet they will. Why else do you need 2,500 Marines? 100%. I think it's a very likely. And honestly, just kind of trying to think of it from a strategic position and everything, even though the United States seems to be very weary about putting like goalposts up and everything else like that, I really do think that the goal here is regime change. And what better way to do that than to pressure them economically? They cannot defend Karg Island. The risk is very low, I think, overall. You attack at Karg Island and take it over. Now, probably, now if there is a risk, I don't know if I would necessarily call this a risk of invading Karg Island, but probably the repercussions would be that Iran lashes out and attacks energy infrastructure in the Middle East. But the thing that I'm seeing is that doesn't really help Iran. That maybe they think that it does, and maybe they think that would cause the West to back off and everything. But I kind of think that we're past that precipice. Like, every attack is basically these people are crazy, we can't allow them to stick around. This kind of disruption to global energy supply and to the economy cannot be allowed to happen, and we need to do something to prevent it from ever happening. There was maybe an off-ramp. There if they said, well, we got the job done, and they can't actually threaten the Strait of Hormuz anymore because we have a large enough of a global coalition there to stop the missiles. But that window is maybe starting to close. Right? And then it really does turn into, we can't allow these guys to be around. Okay, so the treasuries are pushing down a little bit while I've been yapping. And the headline that I'm seeing here is Fed's Waller, if oil stays high for months on end, at some point it bleeds into inflation. Sure. Seems like no duh. Waller says the Fed cannot look through at large and persistent oil shock at this point. Caution for the Fed is warranted. The issues that I still get is how long does it need to be up for it to actually bleed through into inflation? And once you get to the point where like it has been up that high for that long, doesn't that create demand destruction? And doesn't that become a bigger issue at that point? Waller says, I think once you get past tariffs, inflation comes down. While he is speaking, and because the market's reacting to it, it's probably going to be a little testy. So I'm going to be hands off here. Actually, I have some oatmeal. So let's just wait here. I'll read out the headlines as he continues to speak, okay? Hazuki, bro, I'm asking you again why you have so many DOMs at any one time, but I explained to you yesterday. Were you not listening? I'll explain it again, I guess. If I'm trading the 10-year treasury and I'm seeing buying in the 10-year treasury, I have to look at the 30-year treasury to see what the 30-year treasury is doing too. Because if I'm seeing buying in the 10-year treasury and selling in the 30-year treasury, then that means that maybe we are getting a steepening yield curve. Would be they're selling this one, they're buying this one. Oh, where's my my G ink? You know, I have to reset it. Exit. Anyways, you're getting steepening. That means it's going up, right? So I kind of have to discount that. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're all going to keep going up as a whole. Now, if I'm seeing buying in the 30-year and in the 10-year and in the 10, that might be a good sign that all of the flows are up and that maybe we'll continue to see a trend up. Right? I also have to look at the S&P 500. And it depends on what kind of environment we're in. But right now, it's kind of like, well, if the treasuries sell and the equities sell at the same time, right now, that seems to indicate that the market is concerned about the follow-through effects of inflation. See, now it's too late. It came up. Wanted to say when you get it like this, that's steep. Steep. If it goes down, that's flat. Okay. So you want to have multiple DOMs up so that you can kind of differentiate the flows. Because you can't just say there's strong market buying in this one. It's not enough. You have to look at the market as a whole and say money is coming out of here and coming into here. Apol says, I hate that down is flat because flat is fast, down is down. Yeah, I mean, the thing that is, I don't like the terminology steep and flat, honestly. For retail trading and like, or not, let's not say retail trading, but for people trading the treasuries and the yield curve, that kind of terminology is, I feel, in some respects, deceptive. I think that was terminology that came about from more economics, right? Oh, here's the yield curve. And then when the yield curve gets kind of flat like this, then maybe that means that we're getting close to a recession, yada, yada. And then when the recession happens, the yield curve flattens back out again like this, right? But when we're watching it in the treasuries, really what we're watching is, does this one, how much does this one move relative to this one? And so really it starts with me with the chart. Here we have a chart. That's the yield curve. If it's going up, then that means that we're steepening. If it's going down, that means that we're flattening. In other words, if it's going up, that means that the yields of the shorter termed treasuries are less than the yields in the longer term treasuries. And when they're flat, they're kind of more equal, right? So down is flat, up is steep. And then I have my treasuries. The fact that the ZB is on the left and ZF is on the right, because normally you would be like, okay, we got a 5-year, a 10-year, and a 30-year. How should I sort them? How should I, what order should they be in? You would think, oh, I should go sequentially by numbers. So I should put the lowest number on the left. It should go 5, 10, 30. But we don't do that. We go 30, 10, 5, and then 2. You would put 2 on the right, but I have it down here, right? We do that so that when they move, I can still look at things and I can say, well, up is steep, down is flat. So what's going on right now? The 5-year is up more, or has recovered more than the 10-year has. So we are seeing steepening. And then if I come back over here and I look at my chart and I look at what has it been doing? Well, it was down overnight, but in the more recent history, yes, we are steepening. Which is kind of an interesting tell in this situation, right? Because what did we just have happen? Well, okay, first of all, they're concerned about that we're going to attack Karg Island. So if we attack Karg Island, that could be escalation, that could be more disruption to oil supply, higher oil prices. It hurts equity growth. And so you might see the treasuries go down, but overall steepening, because they're kind of pricing, okay, well, this could hurt yields, but it also makes a recession more likely. So we're going to steepen. And then we just got comments from Waller. So we got comments from Waller. We moved down. We've recovered. But as we've recovered, the yield curve is steepened. So the yield curve is kind of giving us a little bit of a signal about what the market thinks about what's going on this morning that you can't really pick out from just watching the outrights very well. So it's not always a really good signal, but in this situation, it's really, really effective at telling us something. Vital says, nah, they will take the island and not the oil, not to destroy. Oh, no, I think you're totally right. Yeah, they're going to invade the island, and part of the reason that they're going to invade the island is that they think they can do it without really causing any damage to anything. Yeah. They're not going to destroy. But Iran probably lashes out after that, right? And maybe they attack. So I don't know how big of a, like, this is the worst thing that could happen to us. Like how pissed will Iran be if the United States takes Kharg Island? Is it, let's destroy the Saudi oil pipeline pissed off? Because on one hand, Iran is saying, like, this is an existential crisis for us. We need to do everything we can for the regime to survive. And they're pulling out all of the stops. But then on the other hand, they have been measured. It has been tit for tat strikes. Things like that. So I think, at least from the information that I have, which is probably not the whole picture, because I'm not privy to national security information. I really wish I was, but I'm not. I think that the most devastating thing Iran could do right now is to strike the oil pipeline that Saudi Arabia has going across their country. They have a pipeline that goes from Hormuz over to the other side of Saudi Arabia so that if Hormuz was closed, they could still get oil out. If Iran were to hit that pipeline, that would be a huge deal. That would be, oh man, you would see oil spike on that one. You would see oil spike on that one. So, is taking Kharg Island big enough deal that Iran would retaliate by doing that? I'm not so sure. I'm actually kind of thinking right now, Iran would maybe just kind of do some hit some things, but not, it wouldn't be anything game changing, you know? I think they are crazy enough to burn the boats, burn everything just to not give it away. The Iranians are. Like, do you think that Iran would destroy Kharg Island to prevent the U.S. from having it? Maybe. But at that point, I think that you're just being vindictive, right? At that point, it's like, listen, they're going to win. The United States is going to win. All you're doing is just pissing everybody off now. I don't know. But maybe they don't think that way. That's the way Seth would think. That's probably not the way Iran thinks, is it? Waller says, if there are losses in private credit, it is a bunch of firms and rich people. Oh, so is what he's saying that if private credit collapses, there will not be a bailout? You know, I really haven't spent a lot of time thinking about this and gaming this out. I definitely see the stuff going on in private credit, but I'm still kind of thinking at the moment, well, not thinking, but I haven't seen anything yet that says to me that this is really going to blow up into a full-ground crisis. I guess the issue is that by the time you see that it really is going to turn into a full-blown crisis, it's like maybe already too late. But if it turned into a full-blown crisis, whether or not you bail them out would probably become the most toxic political issue ever, because people were very, very unhappy when we bailed out Wall Street during 2008. Everybody is still stuck on it, man. I say, yeah, you've got to. Every time that there's a crisis, somebody gets bailed out, and the government steps in and they do something. But should we really bail out private credit? The whole thing is that you know it's a risky thing. Most of these ventures don't pan out, etc., etc., etc. But it also fuels a lot of jobs. So if private credit explodes, all these companies go kaput. a bunch of people get laid off. Instant recession. So there kind of is a reason to bail them out. But politically, I don't know if you can do it. The public would just be too adamantly opposed to it. So let's just hope that the private credit thing kind of blows over. That people take losses, they value their portfolios correctly, and then everybody calms down and it's like, yeah, we took the losses, but that's what happens in private credit sometimes. I hope. Paul says, it ruined our country, set new standards of failure, didn't allow bad businesses to be replaced by good new ones, just like how the government, it shockingly left all of those old guys in power. So, no, I'm not sure I agree with you. I agree with you that we have an issue where bad businesses have not been replaced by good ones. But I don't think that was because of the 2008 bailouts. I think that in the 2008 bailouts, you basically had to bail out the banking sector. And if you had not, then it would have been complete and total collapse. But what happened after that was we had a period, an exceptionally long period of extremely low interest rates that I think was driven primarily by a period of low growth. GDP growth was lower than usual during this period. And I believe that this was due to policies from Barack Obama. So really, I think the thing that has caused that was this unusually long stretch of low growth, low interest rates, which ended up being a great time to be invested in the stock market. But ultimately has kind of left us with a lot of cruft in the economy, hasn't it? I think bailing them out is bad, but the potential issues of not doing so would be catastrophic, says Ishmael. Yeah. Well, I think, I was talking about something else with my wife last night about dating, because the people on TikTok are talking about dating a lot right now. And, I was just pointing out to her like a moment of self-reflection. Well, my thing is market microstructure and complexity economics. So I've got a hammer and I think that everything is a nail, right? And so I'm always going to look at things as the reason that it turns out the way that it does is because of the structure of the situation. And I definitely think that is what happens with bailouts. Every economic crisis that we have ever had in the United States has resulted in some sort of a bailout in the end. Some sort of government intervention. The only thing that was unique about the 2008 crisis was that Congress explicitly authorized taxpayer money to be used for it. That's the only difference. Every other crisis, it always ends the same way, with the government stepping in and doing something. And why is that? Because of the structure of the situation. If you don't do something, then everybody loses. I think you mean your TikTok is talking about dating? No. It is a thing. Because it's because of this Netflix documentary. Have you guys not seen this? Okay, there is a Netflix documentary out about the manosphere. And there is an influencer that is featured in that documentary a lot. I haven't watched it. Maybe I should watch it tonight. Featured in that documentary, I can't remember his name. Is it Louis Theroux? Is that his name? Basically, this guy is a looksmaxer. And there was an incident recently where there was a girl and she was on his stream, but she didn't know that he was streaming. And she was like in a relationship, but she was flirting with him. And then once she realized that it was all caught on stream, she was extremely embarrassed, like to the point of tears. And so because of those incidents and everything, like the trending topic right now on TikTok is like the manosphere and dating and all of these things. I find it really, really fascinating because, you know, people are saying a lot of things and it's like, well, we can't prove any of these things empirically. But if these things are true, what does it say? Well, this particular influencer kind of does make you wonder, because from all accounts, and again, I've never watched this guy, but from all accounts, he says extremely misogynistic and racist things on his stream. Like apparently he is outright using racial slurs and stuff on his stream. I don't think that this is a guy that is hosted on Twitch. And but his whole thing is looks maxing and being the best looking guy that you possibly can. And it seems like he gets girls from it. Now, could that be an illusion? Could that be just a function of finding the right girls to bring on stream or to approach? And it's not actually that they're attracted, you know, that there's something unusual about his methods or anything. I don't know. But what's happening, it seems to me what's happening is that some of the younger boys are seeing this and saying, well, you guys all say that you shouldn't do X, Y, and Z, but then I see this guy and he does all of these things and he has a ton of success with women. So maybe it works. That's what I think that they're seeing right now. So, I think that there may be some sort of cultural shift going on right now. Apal says, I have the answer. I know a TikTok hot superstar guy, and Bud. I could sit all day explaining what he does on TikTok, talking to the ladies making money, and you wouldn't believe me. What do you mean? Go deeper. Like, you know what? Traditionally on Friday, we would talk about gender issues anyways. So we talk about it. What are the particular strategies or things that we're talking about here that you think do or don't work? Oh, you're right. Louis Theroux is the guy that made the documentary. I don't know the name of the influencer. You say clavicular. That sounds familiar. I don't know if it's the guy. I'll watch it tonight. Apal says it's nothing. Empty crap of just repeating a few empty phrases and being the most hollow, soulless thing ever, pretty much. Always doing the slower, cool guy voice on roids for muscles. Makes so much. And then the basic tough guy, jerk, type conversations and etc. A lot of what you explained kind of as well. So the thing that So again, I always come down to, like, I think that it's the structure of things. So, like, the argument that I'm always seeing, like, especially on Reddit, which is where you kind of know, like, probably they're wrong because it's Reddit, that they say, well, why would you listen to this manosphere influencer type when you can just talk to women and find out what they like and what would bring you the most success in dating? Well, the manosphere argues that you don't ask a fish how to fish, you ask a fisherman. Well, I'm kind of partial to that argument because I've seen on more than one occasion some activity on social media where it's like there's a guy and he's on Tinder and like I don't get any matches, or maybe I get one match a week. What do I got to do to improve my profile? And so then they ask the girls, and the girls tell him what to do and put into his profile. And they'll say things like, don't have a picture of you fishing, stuff like that, right? And then he does that, and he still only gets like one match a week. It doesn't change anything. So then he goes and he asks the guys, what do you do? And the guys tell him some things, and now he's getting like maybe 2 or 3 matches a week, which is kind of more like what you kind of average of what you would want to get if you were doing well on Tinder. Where that puts you amongst all men, I don't know. It's probably in the higher percentages of men, but I digress. And then gay guys took the profile, and you do what the gay guys say to do on their profile, and then he was just getting girls out the wazoo. And I've seen this on more than one occasion. So I'm kind of partial to the argument that you don't ask a fish how to fish, but I don't have any empirical data to back up that theory. So maybe it's just the biases of where I go and look and what I remember and things like that, right? But I have a different theory, actually. I have a different theory. My theory is that the average person's dating advice sucks. That's my theory. I think that dating is difficult and counterintuitive in many respects. And so if you go on Reddit and you ask Reddit, oh, what are the most useful things that I can do? You're probably not going to really get that much help, because you're going to get things that are either you're already doing because it's the average person's knowledge, so why wouldn't you know it? Or that is just wrong. So my theory is the average person's dating advice sucks. And the people that are going to have really good dating advice are going to be the people, probably the people that have had to struggle the most. Right? Which does lead me to think that probably you're going to get better dating advice from men. Like, I would even say that if you're a girl, that you're probably going to get better dating advice than from girls. Like, there's this guy. What was this guy's name? Matthew Hussey, is that his name? I haven't seen him in a long time. I should look him up. But I thought when I was watching him, because he gives dating advice to women, that is like, well, yeah, you're getting guys, but then you can't get any of them to commit. So what's going on? How do you as a woman get a guy to commit and get married? And that's his whole thing. And I feel that he gave very, very good advice. Because I feel like that the men have to understand the nature of the thing more, because it's harder for them. So that's Seth's market microstructure theory of dating advice. That the people that the average person gives bad dating advice, and the people that will give good dating advice are the people that have had to struggle the most, or you know, you're an expert, you've helped a lot of people, and a lot of the people that you've helped are people that have a hard time, that have maybe some some natural disadvantages in the dating market, maybe. Yeah. So I'm like thinking about it. I have never come across, and especially one that's geared towards men, like a woman giving men dating advice and showing all of this massive success. Like, you talk to the girl, the guy comes on stream, the girl tells the guy what he needs to do on stream. Yes, you need to be more sensitive and show her your sense on all these things that the kind of the soft era group of dating, I want to say left-leaning, but let's call it the soft guy era of school, the soft guy school of thought thinks. And then he goes out and he just gets picks up tons and tons of girls. I've never seen that. I don't think I've ever been shown on TikTok a female dating influencer that focuses their content towards men? Is that because the algorithm just doesn't show them to me? So if they've got to be out there, right? They got to be out there. Okay, wait. You guys have been saying way more than I realized here. What's also fun about the one TikTok guy, I know he's not like 100% just TikTok dweeb. I don't know how to put it. He's aware it's just ridiculous and having a lot of fun doing it because no one knows male style better than a gay guy. He knows what he's looking for and he knows how to look good. Females just know a man looks good or not. Gay males know how to make look good. Okay. Yeah. Dating advice from Reddit, you were bound to fail from the start, says Ismail, yeah. Ismail, my face when there's no second date, but at least she now knows about the microstructure of markets. You know what? Well, so first of all, I didn't get into markets until after I was dating, so I don't know what it would be like now. It would be weird. It would be weird because I have definitely, like, my mind has been trained so much on let's talk about market microstructure because that's what we talk about on here that it's probably is a problem. Like, I don't think that I'm autistic, but that would be like an autistic behavior, and I think that it's that I trained it in myself, kind of, right? No, you don't see it because it doesn't exist, says Apol. When I was asking about like a woman giving men advice that's really good, I've never seen it. Yeah, but my argument is, okay, so because I don't think that we have any empirical evidence that women's dating advice tends to be worse than men's dating advice. But if we did a study, and like first we did a study to determine what dating advice makes the biggest difference. Like, we take a pool of 1,000 people, and each one of them we give one of 20 different tips. And then we see their performance before and after being given that tip to determine which tips help them out the most. So now we have empirically determined what is the best dating advice. And then we went and we polled men and women. And just whenever I'm thinking about this, like, we don't have the empirical evidence. How do we get the empirical evidence? So then we go and we poll men and women and we say, okay, give me one piece of dating advice. Like, your friend is having a hard time. What's the one piece of dating advice that you would give them? And then see, are men or women more likely to give the advice that we have found is actually effective from our study, right? And then we found that the women would tend to give advice on things that don't help at all or actually make things worse. And men are more likely to give you the advice that actually helps. Okay, so we've done that study and it happened. That hasn't happened. Okay, just anybody watching this on recording within the context that hasn't, we're a theoretical that has happened. Then why? Why do men give better dating advice than women? And my argument is that it's because of the structure of the dating market. Men have to try harder to find something in the dating market, whereas with women, a lot of the opportunities come to them. And so men are kind of forced to learn what actually works, whereas women aren't. Because some people will argue, it's the base psychology of men and women. In fact, women don't want you to be successful in dating, and so they will intentionally tell you things that are wrong. Like subconsciously, they will tell you things that they are not actually attracted to because they're trying to, like, thin the herd out and find the ones that are truly actually. So the guy that you tell him all of these things, but then he ignores them and still does the things that women actually like. And it's some sort of natural filtering behavior that women do. Like, if that's because that's what I think the manosphere says, isn't it? I mean, that's the sort of thing that the manosphere says. But Seth says, no, it's the structure of the dating market. Let's see here. Apal says, women dating advice is so terrible. For example, if women dating advice is so real, a woman can easily get with all sorts of men, and yet they all get stuck single. Y'all know the ones. Well, but you know what, though? I'm not convinced that that's actually all that common. What I see is, starting with my generation, and I would say that the older millennials, so like I was born in 1985, I'm 40 now, right? The older millennials don't have as much of a problem with this. It's really when you get more to the people that are like 35, 38 and below right now, right? There are a ton of women that are not married yet, have not had children, and like having children in your late 30s, early 40s, there's problems with that. And some of them will just not be able to have kids. Right? And why is that? Well, because they've focused on their career and they're not out there actively seeking it. So it seems to me that there's a ton of women and they are stuck single. And it's not that they're stuck single because they don't know how to find a guy and lock him down. It's because they made the conscious decision to focus on something else. That's what it seems to me to be happening. Are you married? Yes. We've been married. When did we get married? 2016. So it's been 10 years now. It gets more complicated with how some people seem to consider bar hookups as relationships, and how that attitude is growing with Tinder and such too, as we have talked before. But I'm still not. So the data that I have seen, correct me if I'm wrong, the data that I have seen is that not that many of the kids are actually doing that. Like, we think, oh, okay, Tinder's become a big thing, and that's like a big cultural change, and like a really negative cultural change, because it means a pickup in hookup culture and that sort of a thing. But all of the statistics that I've seen are that both men and women are having less sex. They are meeting less partners. They are doing less of this thing. That Tinder coming along has actually, well, let's say maybe it hasn't had any effect, but despite Tinder coming along, promiscuousness has decreased. In other words, the isolation that we get because we just don't have as strong social structures, that everything's done online, is resulting in less romantic relationships. Bar hopping and drinking is one of the downswing huge in younger generations. That is such a good thing. And also, we're talking about advice being bad. Well, the less sex of people is proof. Well, there's less children being born. That's the net effect on society that is objectively negative, yes. Because TikTok and all sorts of etc. have combined many people's tastes and preferences, making it impossible for anyone. All the advice you see is usually crazy or totally unrelated to individuals. Okay, so I definitely see this thing where, like, people will develop these niche proclivities based off of being pulled into some algorithm online, and then they can't relate to anybody in real life. That's definitely a thing. But I am not convinced that that is why kids are having less romantic relationships now. I really truly believe that it is because they do not spend as much time or effort in it. Like, if you have something like that going on, but you say, I am going to get married. The most important thing for me in my life is to find a partner, get married, and have children. And I am going to my efforts, the most important thing that's going to come first. And if you do that, you start going on dates, and then you're going to find out, oh, this idea that I had is unrealistic. This thing that I do is not help me. Once you're actually out in the market, it's just like retail trading, right? Like, you can only trade for so long before you realize that what you're doing is not working. You can do all sorts of things to kind of hide it from yourself and everything, but it's pretty hard to like hide that reality from yourself for like 10 or 20 years. Not that people don't do it, but you know, if you're just being objective, you're going to come in and you're going to realize my interactions with the market do not line up with what I previously believed, right? And that kind of dynamic is extremely strong in the dating market. You will figure it out, especially if you're a guy. So that's why I say the only logical answer for me, the only thing that let me restate that. The only thing that makes logical sense to me is that they're just not putting as much effort into it. That it's not that they're getting bad advice or anything like that. It's that they just aren't putting themselves out there. If you go and you say, I'm going to make a Tinder profile, I'm going to swipe a certain amount of time every day, every person that I match with, I am going to try and get their number and set up a date with them as quickly as possible. So don't like sit and talk to them for a month or whatever. It's okay, we matched, that's good. Hey, what's your number? Okay, once you got them on texting, then you make a time for a meetup. And you try to date, you decide how many times a week that you can reasonably date, 2 or 3 times a week, and you just keep that pipeline full. You got a girl, 2 or 3 girls that you're dating. One of them, you kind of realize it's not going to work out or whatever, or she loses interest. Then you start swiping again until you've replaced them. You do that for 2 years, you will get married. I like, just from the numbers and everything, you're going through that. Unless you've got some other big challenge, okay, you will find a partner through doing that. And whatever kind of things that you have that are, overcomable but are just holding you back, you will see them and have to face them and fix them. You will. Because in that time period, you can date like up to 300 to 500 people in 2 years. I'm not even kidding. Especially if you're a girl. If you're a girl, then it gets nuts. So one of the things that I would come across occasionally is you'd get a girl that they put themselves out on the market, and so they're doing like 5 dates a week. Girls, don't do that. Don't go that crazy. If you can do that, don't do that. Limit yourself. Okay. Because you will burn out so fast. And then after that, it becomes kind of difficult to be interested in anybody. So while I've been doing that, I kind of didn't realize that the treasuries kind of took a plunge again. Oh, no. That's just there's been a little bit of extension from Feds Waller's comments. That's what it is. But we're at the regular session -1 sigma. So we're at a spot where we need to pay attention. Okay, let's read. I missed these other comments from Apalm. Imagine what these kids are, though. They see Tinder. They see the success. They, of course, see all the failures in marriage through older generations and more. And then you get younger advice, which breaks you more and more, belittles your confidence. TikTok and other idiots online will screw you up. We all know this, but now include AI advice too, and AI Reddit advice. That advice came from people in the first place, including the people we say can't give any good advice almost at all on the subject, altogether in one pool of nonsense pushed into kids' faces. Well, the part you seem to be missing, the younger generation, is they are taught, told, and encouraged not to try at all in any way, shape, or form, or anything. It's the craziest thing. They can't try. I do see that. I don't know where that stems from. I don't understand it. I just completely ignore them. There's this thing where it's like people get bashed online for being performative. Okay. If people see me as performative, that's okay. I am performative. I like to try and dress nicely because I know that that affects the way that other people see me. Whatever the thing is that I'm doing, I put the maximum effort that I possibly can into it to try and make it as excellent as possible, so that when you look at that thing and you see Seth did this thing, wow, there is some quality about that that is notable that I don't see in what other people do. And it's not because I have this huge narcissistic ego that, like, I really care about how people perceive me. It's kind of weird because it's kind of become the opposite. The trying hard sort of a thing maybe makes people see you as less. It's because I care about being excellent always. And if I'm not being excellent, I can't even care about life. Like, why is it even going? Why are we even here and doing anything if you're supposed to not try about anything? It's so dumb. And if people see that as performative, like people see Seth here, oh, I've got a business shirt, and I'll wear a business shirt to work. Or hardly anybody else at work wears a business shirt. And they say, he's trying too hard. He's performative. Oh, well. Because to me, I'm trying to be excellent, and it doesn't matter to me what other people think about it. What matters to me is that I feel that I am putting my maximum effort into everything and doing the best that I can on everything. Because if I'm not doing that, I can't see a reason to even be living. It's, this is one of the problems that I have, is that I'm constantly seeking the thing that's like, okay, what is the thing that I can do excellent that will give me some sort of, that temporary boost to keep me interested in life, to not have to face the existential dread of how pointless existence actually might be. I'm going to intentionally ignore that existential dread and dive myself into trying to be excellent about something. But there's downsides to that, right? Because if you want to be competitive, like say I want to become a gold medalist Olympic weightlifter, right? You have to like work out twice a day and basically structure your whole life around doing that thing. It's not really practical, right? So I have to kind of find ways to do things where I can feel like I'm really pouring my effort into something, but I'm not, holding back everything else that's going on. And I guess the one thing that I care the most about is my family. So I'm primarily thinking about what can I do to help my family be more excellent. But then some of them, the kids, it doesn't seem like they want to be excellent to me. Some of them would rather sleep in. not to drag all of my family issues, and I'm trying to be like a little bit vague, but one issue that I've had is kids not waking up in time for school. And this bothers me. And then I look at it, and I feel like that this is very much a symptom of what Paul is talking about here, right? That people are told, and encouraged not to try at all in any shape or form. They don't value excellence anymore. And if we could just teach the kids, what is excellence and why should you be excellent? Excellence isn't necessarily for other people. I mean, part of it is other people, because you're making things for other people. So you want to do the thing that the other people like. Excellence is, like there's a balance between doing really, really good work and how long it takes you to do it, right? If the amount of time that you took doesn't really give the end consumer of that product more enjoyment in the thing, then why are you bothering? That's not excellence. You're maybe actually just practicing perfectionism in order to avoid finishing anything, right? Oh man, I faced that this last week so hard with the video that we put out, because I went and I did the rough cut. Because when I was writing it, I felt really, really good at it. About it, I was like, there's some things that I'm doing different in this script that I really, really like. But then when I edited it together, it's like, okay, that's it. This isn't excellent. Well, I went back and did some other passes and added the text and zooming in on the face and all these other sorts of things to kind of break it up and to make it more excellent. And then it was like, well, I could do the text in a different way that would be more excellent. I could go and find this extra B-roll film, and it would probably take me a really long time and a lot of extra money to like find better B-roll film for stuff. But would that actually improve people's enjoyment or the conversion rate of the video if I spent an extra month on the video? No. So I need to just do the things that I know I can do now and put it out. That's the most excellent job that I can do right now. Right? So how the people react to the product matters, but it's not because you're doing it for your sense of narcissism. You're doing it because there's a benefit to you personally from trying to do excellent work. Apel says, isn't state-run schooling great? I've seen stories on how good kids realize there isn't any point in giving your all when the kid that doesn't try at all gets the same credit. I don't know. There's something else to it though. Among the kids, I sense this fundamental question about their own worth in society that seems to not make sense with the situations. Like I've got a kid that he's like 6'2" or more now. I don't know what his exact height is. He's well over 6 feet tall. And he has, I wouldn't call it red. It's still brown hair, but it's kind of got the reddish tint to it. You know, there is some redhead in there. And it's curly. So like, that's in right now. That's in right now. The broccoli hair and the kind of reddish and everything. He is like what the girls like from my understanding of it on TikTok. Right? And yet I sense this like fundamental lack of self-confidence, like that nobody else is gonna like me. If I do find some people that like me, I need to cling on to that very, very hard because there might not be anybody else. And I'm sitting here like, dude, once you get into college, you're gonna have to you know, bat them off of you. You're gonna be one of those guys that like all of the girls notice and go after, and that all of the other guys are jealous of because you get the opportunities, and you just don't see it because you're in high school and maybe there's history and things like that. But once you're in a place where there's tons of girls your age and they don't know you, you're not gonna know what to do. And why is it I shouldn't have to tell him that? It's so bizarre to me. And it's almost like, maybe like what you're saying is that it's almost like the internet has trained him to think that or something. I don't know. I kind of wonder, because I think one of the things that plays into it with him is that he's had he got involved with the LGBT community, and he had negative experiences with that. They basically all betrayed him, and it was not good. It was quite the messy drama. Oh man, I saw this statistic the other day that LGBT children are significantly more likely to have teenage pregnancy. So maybe that was part of the thing that kind of, you know, he got hurt from that, and so that's why he feels the way that he does. And maybe it's just he's gonna get old enough. I think he has a little ADHD. Not a little, he is ADHD. So as he gets older and he's taking the medication, and he's going to become more aware, and then he'll gain that confidence and it'll go away, maybe. Probably is what's going to happen. Because he's very smart too. He has extremely high verbal intelligence. Uzi says, meanwhile, I found Seth's house through old-fashioned detective work. Oh, I bet. Wait, was it just public records? I bet. Because I've wondered sometimes, you know, like, I'll try to be careful. Like, I don't want to show too much about where I am. Because if I just went out, if I just took my phone out into the backyard and, like, you know, did a quick, like, you know, here's a view of the horizon, you would be able to find out where I live very easily. Because there are a number of, you know, because we have mountains and all of that sort of stuff. So you would be able to tell from the mountains exactly where I live. So, yeah. But you found it just through old-fashioned detective work. Okay. Did you find the Google Street View? What did you think of the way the house looks in the front? Does it look good on the street view now? Oh, he's given out his last name before, so funny. But yeah. Well, some of you guys found me on LinkedIn too, right? Like, the thing is I can't make like Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups for us without outing my profile. So, you know, so one of the things was when I was a kid, so like 14 years old or whatever, and my parents told me, never tell anybody how old you are, where you live, or anything about you. They were concerned, you know, giving any kind of private information about yourself was dangerous, especially for children. I do think if you are on the internet and you're in some sort of community, you don't want to advertise, hey, I'm 14, or whatever it is. Okay. But despite my efforts, because a lot of people, you know, nobody else thought that way in the gaming communities that I interacted in. And they sniffed out that information about me anyways. And I just kind of learned that if you participate in a community a lot, enough for people to notice you, that they will figure out who you are in real life anyways. That the only way to really keep your identity safe online is to be anonymous. And I don't want to be anonymous. So I had kind of realized before the age of 17 that this kind of like private life where people online don't know who you are or much about you was never going to be me. So it doesn't bother me that he knows where I live. But of course, it does, you know, like again, if our YouTube channel ever became popular, maybe we're being throttled. I saw this thing this morning that the Biden administration had identified people who promoted traditional motherhood as extremists that could foment political violence, terrorism in the United States. And so they were like monitoring trad wives and stuff like that. And I wonder, like, dude, there's got to be like the FBI was monitoring these people. And I'm like, dude, there's no way, with me having been doing this YouTube now for like 9 years, that I'm not on some list somewhere. He said he's said derogatory things about Islam in the past. We'll put him on the list for that. He doesn't completely go along with our line on COVID. We'll put him on that. And it'd be funny because a lot of you guys would always say, Seth doesn't go far enough. He's too tepid on these sorts of things because he's afraid to be put on the list. But I'm almost certain that I probably have been put on a list somewhere. So maybe somebody came along and said, oh, this was incorrect. We need to take all of these people off the list and they've been throttled in some form. We're going to stop throttling them. And then all of a sudden the YouTube channel becomes super popular. And then, yes, we would have to change things. We'd have to change things. And there would be some things about the things that we like about our YouTube channel that would change, and it would be kind of sad. But one of them would probably be that I would probably have to move. I would probably have to move into a location that I can have like my own dedicated guard and all of these sorts of things. Because no matter what I do, people would still be able to find me. I don't think I can hide from Uzi. Let's see here. For what I know, for what it's worth, me knowing where you live is harmless. I do have a strange penchant for challenging myself with public record snooping, but I don't do anything with it. Lol, it's more about whether or not I can. Oh, okay. Because I'm sitting here thinking, well, what he really wants to do is find out where I live, so that you can see a picture of my house. So now I want to know what he thought about my house. Does it look good on Google Street View now? I haven't looked in a long time. See, I'm hesitant to like show you guys like my house on Google Street View, but I kind of want to look myself now, so I'm gonna go look myself. Man, by the way, they changed Google Maps recently to like which streets get highlighted the most, and it's really annoying. Okay, here we are. Yes, that's us. And can I put the street view on? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if I can show you that, but it looks okay-ish. It looks like it was taken within the last year, actually. You don't blur your house on Street View? No, how do you do that? Do you have to pay? How much money does that cost? I got Snoopy about pending sales. What do you mean by that? Wait, do I show up as a pending sale or something like that? Is that why all of these real estate agents keep calling me and crap? They think that I'm going to sell my house? Oh, wait, I missed your other comment. Let me go back here. I challenge you to find me Uzi, but it probably wouldn't be that hard. Uzi says, I started doing that stuff because too many houses in our neighborhood that were selling were becoming rentals, and I got snoopy about pending sales in our neighborhood. Oh, and that's why you start looking at public records. So, yeah, I'm not going to show it, but Uzi knows, so he can pull up a picture of it on Street View. And the thing about my house is that basically there was a guy that owned a lot of land, and then he sold it. So they made a ton of money. So like that whole street is new, but it's kind of like that street was new, and then the two houses on the corners of the street are old. So it was like that whole street up to the south, and then my house in the middle. And so what you end up with, because my house is the only new house on my street, because my house technically actually belongs to the new subdivision up above, up the mountain a little bit. My house is the only one on that street with a sidewalk. So there's like a little bit of a sidewalk, and the neighbor has like a wall that goes all the way up to the road. So it's like the sidewalk ends at a wall, and it's only just in front of my house. So based on that alone, if you were on the street, you could tell which house it was. Man, they are going lower. Yeah, sidewalk to nowhere. And I try to take really good care of that sidewalk. Okay, so First Squawk is tweeting out, the U.S. is sending 3 warships to the Middle East. Thousands of additional Marines to the Middle East. Oh, this actually is something. Oh, man. Oh, they do not like that. They do not like that. And once again, the treasuries in particular are selling off way harder than oil is buying. So this is very, very concerning. Yeah, that sounds like boots on the ground to me, says Uzi. It does. What would they use the additional boots for? I think that couldn't be like a full-scale invasion. So it probably would be like boots on the ground along the strait, perhaps. Parg Island. Yeah, it's Friday. Friday's new holiday is Advancement Friday. Advancement Friday. What do you mean by that? Yeah, it is. Will the U.S. attack Parg Island Friday? And just based on the tea leaves that we're getting, I would rate the chances of the United States invading Parg Island over the weekend seems very high. Wow, they blew through. Did you see that 8K at 26? And they just destroyed it. Hey, plunge protection team. I know that you're concerned about the price of oil and everything, but I think that you should be more concerned about treasury yields right now, because we're heading up to 4.35 now. Yes, Financial Juice says U.S. sending 3 more warships to the Middle East. Okay, so this is the thing that I'm trying to sort out now is like, what does that actually mean? Because I don't think that that means 3 more carrier groups, does it? 3 more warships? What kind of warships? What would they do? How would those, can they tell me which specific ones and what their capabilities are so that I could sort out what is the increased capability that they feel that they need that they're doing this for? It's Advancement Friday because we're advancing this war. Okay. But then the Wall Street Journal sending thousands of additional Marines to the Middle East. Fascinating. I wish that they had, released these headlines like 90 minutes ago. Right? Oh, no. I missed this comment earlier from Apol. No, they just want you to sell so they can rent it out, which is the problem Uzi had essentially probably. Yeah, you know what? I really want to move. I want a larger pantry and a larger closet, and I want to live closer to where all the tech jobs are in Utah Valley. So I want to move to Provo, even though I don't like the BYU crowd. Just not into it. Okay. But I think it's just best for everybody that I go down there. But it's just not practical to do so right now. Yeah, the value of my house has gone up and everything. Probably not as much as it should be. I kind of feel like that Zillow doesn't underprices my house because my house is like the only one on the street that's like that. And so if they were valuing my house more like the ones on the other street that are really the other houses in my subdivision, they would put it higher. But even if they were to even if we were to take a price higher than what Zillow says it should be worth right now, it's not nearly enough money for me to sell that house and then go switch into a different house and, get a house that's better. And no way. I would get a smaller house and I would be paying more. So it just doesn't make sense to move. So in order for it to make sense for me to move, I think that there has to be a recession and interest rates go back to 0. Which, hey, man, with the way that this is going, you get a quick rise in interest rates followed by an economic crisis and interest rates going back to 0. And hopefully I don't get laid off between any of that. And then maybe I could make the move. But then if interest rates were 0, it would not make sense for me to sell my house. It would make more sense for me to buy a new house and rent out my current house. Don't you think? Wouldn't it make more sense for me to rent out the family house to somebody? And I'm sure that there are people out there that they want to rent a house and they can't afford to own one. Hey, Paul says, fuck it. Think like the 2016 YouTube guru douchebags. Rent that sucker for sure. Man. Okay, so when I met my wife back in 2016, I was, oh man, this whole set of things that happened, I'm not even sure I can sort out in my mind anymore. It's been so long ago that I'm not sure I understand anymore what I was thinking at the time. But I was dating this other girl there was a redhead that I really, really, really liked. I honestly still think about it from time to time, but at this point, it's like not a real person. You know what I mean? And for some reason, that I just got a lot of ideas when during the time, like the month that I was dating that girl. And the idea that I had was, I have a 3-bedroom house and a basement, and 1 bedroom was the office, and 1 bedroom was supposed to be for a nursery, and I just had stuff stored in it. So what I should do is move my computer into the basement and rent the rooms out. So that's what I did. I rented the rooms out at the market rate. I was giving them a good deal, like it was cheap. Like the rent from me for a room was cheap, and it was a nice townhouse. I loved that townhouse. In some respects better than the house that I have now. There's some things about the style that I like better. But I digress. So I rented it out to 2 guys. And with the lower end of the market rate, I paid for the mortgage with renting out the 2 rooms. And then when I got married, we sold my townhouse and we moved into her house. And the plan was to fix that house up and then, go and buy a new house. That's what we did because we didn't want to live in West Valley anymore. So we did that, and we did some good work fixing up her house and renovating it and everything, and then reselling it. So we kind of flipped her house and made a good $100,000 or something like that on flipping her house, because she had to give a ton of money, like split it. She got to keep the house, but she had to like take out a certain amount of equity and give it to her ex, right? And so she was like underwater. But then because of all of this, we still made a killing on the house because of renovating it. But I shouldn't have sold that townhouse. I should have just been, oh, okay, now I'm going to rent out 3 rooms. I should have never have given away. And then I could have started leveraging all of it, right? Just like all of these 2016 YouTube guru douchebags did. That became super, super rich off of just expanding their rental. Well, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. I probably would have gotten into some traps and maybe I would have lost it all. But I think about it all the time. Like, I know why I did it, but I shouldn't have done it. I should have said, hey, I'm willing to live in this place for a little bit longer. Okay. I'll take a look here. Uzi wants to see, did he actually find my house? No. That's so fucking hilarious. No, Uzi. That's my parents' house. I'm down the street. It is funny. You're really close. You're like 5 houses away. Oh man, this is bad. I cannot look away. You're not on the right street. It's around the corner. Here, I can do it. I can do it this way. Where is it? Oh yeah, I see where we are. Okay, yes. I get now why you would be like questioning it, because I was talking about the sidewalk. Man, it's 8:03. I really don't want to leave. I want to see this play out. We are past our regular session 2 sigma. Oh wait, you know what? Did I reset these though? No, I didn't reset them, but they're still correct. They're still close, aren't they? Oh no, I did reset them. This seems like a really good place to buy, but because I really don't feel like that we should be dropping this hard. But then like, well, what is the headline? No, the headline is the sort of thing you don't step in front of it. You don't step in front of a headline like that. Even though I think that there is a good chance it will bounce here, and I'm really, really curious to see if it does. The risk is too high. If this keeps going, it gets so bad. No, you weren't supposed to do that. I was going to... Okay, no, you find it, and then you can use that picture later to verify if you were right. There you go. It's so funny. And then you can see some of the things that I've talked about, like that I'm the only house on my street that has a sidewalk, and that the whole rest of the subdivision can see into my yard, into my backyard. And my backyard is like an amphitheater. That's really what I should do. Is I should, you know, if I'm gonna waste money on something, buy a big sound system and throw concerts in my backyard. Because it is kind of shaped like an amphitheater. Hey. Is it already reversing there? Dude, if it bounces that hard off of it, I'm going to be so shocked. Ah, you had a brownout? Dude, did I tell you guys about the power outage I had on Tuesday? I'm like sitting there and like I hear a gunshot. I'm like, what the F? But then everything immediately turned out. So I'm used to hearing gunshots, so that doesn't shock me, because there's a gun range up on the mountain. But it was like, oh, but that's awfully close. Should I be concerned? But then I noticed that all of the power went out. And the neighbor said that the power line right there in my front yard was sparking and everything. Yeah, the transformer blew up. It was interesting. So the power was all out on Tuesday. I was really concerned that it wouldn't be up by Wednesday morning, but we were fine. It's so weird when this whole ass machine just shuts down in an instant. Oh, that's you need the uninterrupted power supply, bro. Okay, I really am pushing it now. I should get going. Guys, I will see you on Monday. Have fun. We'll see if Carg Island gets invaded this weekend. In the meantime, stay excellent.